Sri Chinmaya Sadguruvaya Namaha. Hello students. Students, in today's class, I'm going to discuss with you about our Indian Constitution. So you know the importance of Constitution. Now I'm going to explain you about the value of our Constitution and making process. So how many lessons are included in that? Here we will observe our national flag, national emblem in our India location in globe. This is our original copy of our Indian Constitution. So this is outer page with our national emblem, and here the first page, preamble page of our Indian Constitution, written Constitution, original big copy of Indian Constitution. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who is famously known as father of the Indian Constitution. He is the person also known as Baba Saheb Ambedkar, was an Indian jurist, economist, politician and social reformer. So he played a vital role in our Indian Constitution framing, who inspired the Dalit Buddhist movement and campaigned against the social discrimination towards the untouchability, especially caste discrimination in the society. He was born on 14th April 1891 in Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Nagar. His full name was Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. He completed his education in London School of Economics and Political Science in the year 1916 and 1922. And he is the person who given statement in 1953 September. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar debated against the or Indian Constitution. My friends tell me that I have made the Constitution, but I am quite prepared to say that I shall be the first person to burn it out. Why? I do not want it. Burn it out. I do not want it. It does not suit anybody. Because in a vast country with several groups, languages, different cultures, they thought it is not suitable for our India. But whatever may be, if our poor people want to carry on, they must not forget that there are majorities and there are minorities. And they simply cannot ignore the minorities by saying, oh no, to recognize you is to harm democracy. I should say that the greatest harm will come by injuring the minorities, so that even Dr. B.R. Ambedkar stated that he is not able to give a suitable for all, but with the reservation system, all problems overcome from past 50 years. So flexibly still we are continuing the same constitution written by our drafting committee, and after that according to the needs our people are making different amendments in our Indian Constitution. As I told that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was father of our Indian Constitution, now I'm going to introduce a famous personality. Most of us, we don't know about this person. He's nothing but Prem Bihari Narayan Raisa. So he is the person who written our constitution with manuscript. As you know that what is meant by manuscript? Handwritten document. First, our Indian constitution, not printed one. If you observe here, children, he is writing our Indian constitution manuscript. Handwritten document is written by Prem Bihari Narayan. So with italic style, see here, observe this handwriting. He is a famous calligrapher. His entire family belongs to calligraphers. His father and his grandfather also. See here the beautiful writing of Mr. Prem Bihari Narayan, who written our constitution. And his handwriting by Prem Bihari Narayan writes in a flowing italic style with beautiful calligraphy. This constitution was published in Dehradun and photolithographed by the Survey of India. He was born in December 1901 to a family of calligraphers, and his mother and father both died when he was young. And so Raisa was raised by his grandfather, himself a scholar of English and Persian. His grandfather also one of the scholar, and who would teach Raisa the art of Indian calligraphy. And Raisa would go on the study at Saint Stephen College in Delhi, where he continued to refine his calligraphic skills. So observe children and remind this name, very very important person, the who behind our constitution, handwritten document. To write our Indian constitution, our assembly, constituent assembly members met in sessions open to the public for total 166 days. They assembled together, they worked together, and it was taken nearly 2 years, 11 months and 18 days before adopting the constitution. So when it was started in the year 1946 and it was ended in the year 1949. So this is the duration which our people, our drafting committee members worked together. How many years? 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. So total 308 members of the assembly signed 2 copies of the document. So at early time our constitution written in 2 languages, one in Hindi and the one in English. On 25th January 1950, it was enforced, came into effect. At that time, that day we celebrating as our Republic Day. All of you know that one. This original Constitution of India, handwritten by a beautiful calligraphy, and each page beautified and decorated by artists from Shantiniketan, including Bihar and Ram Manohar Sinha and Nandalal Bose. These 3 persons who prepared beautiful art to our Indian Constitution. The illustrations on the cover and pages represent styles from the different civilization of the subcontinent, our Indian subcontinent. In that we can observe the Mohenjo-daro civilization in the Indus Valley to the present. Everything they mentioned with beautiful art by these 3 people, children. Here you are observing that our constitution makers who participated in this drafting constitution. So these all people worked hard together and they visited different places, parts of the world, and they took different ideas from different countries, and all those ideas are included in our great Indian constitution, children. See here. Here you observe our many leaders, most probably 15 members as the main group, and rest of all the people, they are working under these 15 members. Lal Bahadur Shastri, Jawaharlal Nehru ji, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, so Munshi, so total Babu Rajendra Prasad, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, so total 308 members, they work together for our Indian Constitution. Our Indian Constitution is the supreme law of India. It frames fundamental and political principles, procedure, practices, rights, powers and duties of the government. It gives us set of rules and regulations and instructions to both our state government as well as to the central government and for entire citizens to follow. So each and every one of us must have to obey the rules of our Indian Constitution, and it imparts constitutional supremacy and not parliamentary supremacy. So whomever as a Prime Minister, as a President of our nation and Chief Minister, So from village president to the nation's president must have to follow the instructions given by our Indian constitutions. So it supported constitutional supremacy, not parliamentary supremacy. So that as it is not created by the parliament but by a constitution assembly and adopted by its people with a declaration in its preamble. Parliament cannot override it. So it is the world's longest constitution is the India's constitution. World's longest constitution because it has 395 articles, 22 parts and 8 schedules when it was written at starting. Only 395 articles, 22 parts and 8 schedules. Now it consisting near approximately 1,45,000 words, making it the second largest active constitution in the world. And currently, after nearly 101 amendments now present in our Indian constitution, we have 448 articles, 25 parts and 12 schedules. 5 appendices are available. So far 101 amendments, means amendment is nothing but modifying changes according to the needs of the present situation. They can add some and they delete some, modifying some changes, what we call as amendment. So far 101 times our Indian constitution amended. Now, this is the preamble page of India. Preamble page is nothing but the first page of Indian Constitution. In that, they declared that we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign country, socialist, secular, democratic and republic, SQDR, sovereign, socialist, secular and democratic and republic country. So what is meant by sovereign country? So India has the power to take any decisions internally or externally. There is no other foreign country or people have the right to interfere in our nation's matters, whatever it might be. And India is a socialist country. So socialist country where the natural resources of the country and the power is distributed equally among the people is a socialist. And India is a secular nation. Secular nation is nothing but we have a right to follow any religion. No one have the right to force any other people related to the religion. And India is a democratic nation. Here our people, our representatives of the people will form the government by the process of elections. And India is a republic nation. So what is meant by republic nation? Republic nation, a head of the nation is president. Head of the nation is president. So most of the powers are there only for prime minister because our president is not elected directly by the people. That is the main reason. And to secure to all its citizens what we are getting, we are getting social, economic and political justice, liberty of thought, freedom, expression, belief, faith and worship. So we have the freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of belief and faith on others and worshipping. We have the freedom, but we have some limitations too. We should not cross the limitations. Equality of status and of opportunity and to promote among them all. So all people are equal, all communities are equal. Fraternity, brotherhoodness, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. So in our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, when we adopted 26th November 1949, the drafting of our Indian Constitution completed, so that we call as adopting. Do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution for entire nation. This is the preamble page promised by our Indian Constitution makers. See here this picture, children. This is the picture on in November 1949. So when we adopted our Indian Constitution, so in the meeting here, you observe Jawaharlal Nehru and Babu Rajendra Prasad and other Indian delegates who assembled to announce our Indian Constitution adoption on 29 November 1949. And here this photo alongside shows Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru addressing the Constituent Assembly. So today most of the countries in the world have a constitution, while all democratic countries are likely to have a constitution. It is not necessary that all countries that have a constitution are democratic. The constitution serves several purposes. So why our constitution have framed? Most of the countries they have the constitution, but all the democratic countries are not framed their constitution based on the democratic policies. All constitutions are not democratic. First, it lays out certain ideas that form the basis of the kind of country that we as citizens aspire to live in, or put another way, a constitution tells us what the fundamental nature of our society is. Coming to the lesson now. So this, if you have the textbook, open your textbook and follow the textbook carefully. A country is usually made up of different communities of people who share certain beliefs but may not necessarily agree on all issues. A constitution helps serve as a set of rules and principles that all persons in a country can agree upon as the basis of the way in which they want the country to be governed. This includes not only the type of government but also an agreement on certain ideals that they all believe the country should uphold. See here in this picture, if you observe this picture, belongs to a controversy related to the freedom movement of a particular country, is nothing but Nepal. Because very recently in Nepal they are following monarchy system like king's period. So rest of all the people, they have to obey the rules and regulations of the king only. There is no constitution to them. Let us try and understand what we mean by this through two contrasting situations in the recent history of Nepal, a country that borders India on the north. Until recently, Nepal was a monarchy. The previous constitution of Nepal, which had been adopted in 1990, reflected the fact that the final authority rested with the king. A people's movement in Nepal fought for several decades to establish democracy, and in 2006, they finally succeeded in putting an end to the powers of the king. The people had to write a new constitution to establish Nepal as a democracy. The reason that they did not want to continue with the previous constitution is because it did not reflect the ideals of the country that they want Nepal to be and that they have fought for. So here the people, along with their flags, they're coming out to the roads to just show their revolution against the king's period. The country of Nepal has witnessed several people's struggles for democracy. There was a people's struggle in 1990 that established democracy that lasted for 12 years until 2002. In October 2002, King Gyanendra, citing the Maoist uprising in the countryside as his reason, began taking over different aspects of the government with the army assistance. The king then finally took over as the head of the government in February 2005. In November 2005, the Maoists joined other political parties to sign in a 12-point agreement. This agreement signaled to the larger public an imminent return in democracy and peace. In 2006, this people's movement for democracy began gaining immense force. It repeatedly refused the small concessions that the king made, and finally in April 2006, The king restored the third parliament and asked the political parties to form a government. In 2008, Nepal became a democracy. After abolishing the monarchy, the above photos show scenes from the People's Movement for Democracy in 2006. See here, the people almost all they shouting against the king's period. They want to frame their own constitution and democratic nation. So far, I'm discussing about the importance of constitution. Now, I'm going to explain you about the role of constitution. So here, role of constitution in relationship between the government and its people. So our constitution gives a set of rules and regulations which must have to follow by the governments and the people. So what are the rules given to the government here? So here our governance is administration divided into three parts here. The first one is legislative or administration, and the second one is judiciary system, and third one is executive system. So these three organs are the important organs of our government. So legislative, like Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, together we call as parliament. So what is the main role of the parliament? Making laws to the people. And then next one, executive department. What is the role of the executive department? To enforce the law. So whatever the laws made by parliament or our legislature is implementing by our executive department. And then third one is judiciary system. Judiciary system interprets the laws. So if you have any mistakes and if anyone committed mistake, so these are all problems solved by our judiciary system. So our constitution given this entire powers and set of rules and regulations to our governments only for the welfare of the people and for easy governance. Due to these reasons, we need a constitution. What are the needs in general? First one is to govern a country properly, to provide set of rules and regulations and fundamental duties, fundamental rights to the people, and then directive principles to the states. Everyone is given to the people. And the second one is the constitution define the nature of political system of a country. What kind of political system we have in our country? Democratic form of government. So that which government we have to follow also mentioned in our constitution. And third reason is that we feel strongly about an issue that might go against our larger interest, and the constitution helps to guard against this. So our society included both minorities and majority people. So to protect the interests of the minorities also our constitution works for. And then it provided us three organs. Just now I explained about these three organs of our government, that is executive department, legislature and judiciary department. So it functions within the constitution. So all the three organs of the government including ordinary citizen derive their power and authority like fundamental rights also given in our constitution only. If they act against it, it is constitutional and unlawful, so that those who violated the laws, definitely they will punish according to the norms. So because of these all reasons is required, constitution required to have authoritative allocation of power and function, and also to restrict them within its limit. So that these are the main things why we need constitution. Before I told that about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is our father of Indian Constitution. Before that, Dr. Sachidananda Sinha, Dr. Sachidananda Sinha was the first president, temporary president of the Indian Constitution. He is the person Sachidananda Sinha, and he was the first president of Constituent Assembly. As you know that Dr. Rajendra Prasad is our Constituent Assembly, president of the Constituent Assembly. But before Rajendra Prasad ji, so we have Sachidananda Sinha was the first president, but only temporary for few days. After that, Yeah, in December 9th, 1946, again our assembly people met and they choose Dr. Rajendra Prasad as our President of Indian Constitution, and then Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar became the chairman of its drafting committee on December 11, 1946. So these three members played very important role in our constitution framing. So the first president, Dr. Sachidananda Sinha, and second president official Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and the father of the Indian Drafting Commission, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So here our Constituent Assembly consisting how many members? 382 members, and then among them 292 were elected by the elected members of the Provincial Legislative Assembly, while 93 members were nominated by the princely states. So elections are going on. So for this Constitution committee also they were conducted elections. So from at that time our state means our country is divided into provincials. Provincial is nothing but our state. So that from all the states they were elected 292 members, and then 93 members were nominated by the princely states, our kings. They nominated 93 members. To this were to be added a representative each from the four chief commissioners provinces from Delhi, Ajmer, Marwar, Kurk, and British Balochistan. So present located in Jammu and Kashmir. So here the first day assembly in Constituent Assembly on December 9th. This is picture you can observe Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and other people who were elected by from all the states of India, total 385 members. Here amazing facts about our Indian Constitution. As I told that we have collected different ideas from different parts of the world. So what kind of ideas we are observed from United Kingdom? So like Britain, at that time we are under the control of the British Raj. So nominal head, who is nominal head? President. Then who is real head means Prime Minister has more powers than president, and the cabinet system of minister, post of PM, prime minister, parliamentary form of government. So we have two types of government. One is parliamentary form of government, and the one is presidential form of government. Present we have parliamentary form of government. Bicameral parliament. Parliament has two houses. One is Lok Sabha and the one is Rajya Sabha, lower house and upper house. So here lower house is more powerful because our Lok Sabha members were directly elected by the people, whereas Rajya Sabha people nominated indirectly by the representatives. And Council of Ministers responsible to lower house. Provision of speaker in Lok Sabha. These all ideas we are getting from United Kingdom. And then what kind of ideas we are getting from USA? Written constitution, appointment of vice president, and fundamental rights, Supreme Court, head of the state known as president, provision of states, judicial review. These ideas from USA. From Australia, concurrent list. What is concurrent list? A list of state government and central government together. Concurrent list means our government doing different works for the purpose of people, so that they combinedly prepare some list we called as concurrent list. Center-state relationship, language of the preamble. These ideas from Australia. Fundamental duties and 5-year plans from United States of Soviet Russia, USSR. And from Germany, emergency provisions. From Japan, law on which the Supreme Court functions. And from Canada, federal system and residuary powers. From South Africa, procedure of constitutional amendment. How to amend constitution we got from South Africa. And from Ireland, concept of directive principles of state policy from Ireland. These are the important things what we got from other countries and implemented in our country. Coming to the lesson, children, now I'm going to explain Why democracy is needed with a small your textbook activity here. See, Suresh is the class monitor. He is a bully, somewhat mischievous. His classmates are not too fond of him. Mrs. Rao, the class teacher, has to leave the classroom on some urgent work. She asks Suresh to mind the class. Suresh starts picking on Anil. So he's mischievous, so that always he's trying to dominate others. So today he picks Mr. Anil. Anil, today I'm going to report you to Mrs. Rao because without any reason only. But what I have done? Nothing. But when Mrs. Rao returns to the class, here the class monitor, Mr. Suresh, giving complaint to the class teacher. Ma'am, while you were away, Anil kept talking loudly and disturbing the class. He would not listen to me. And immediately teacher responds here, Anil, you will have to stay back after school today. And right, I will not disobey the class monitor 100 times. But ma'am did not do anything. But she don't know and what we have to do. So in a democratic country also, if we given powers to the single person, this type of misusing of powers happens, so that we, in our country, democracy form of government, we distributed powers equally to all organs. So that just to avoid the misuse of the power by the single person or organ or institution. One more example here. The games period is about to begin. So both boys and girls, they plan to play in playground. Girls want to play basketball and boys want to play cricket. So that they went to the teacher and asked the permission. The teacher decided to settle the problem with a show of hands, taking opinion, majority opinion. Hey, we have won. Obviously, because in the classroom, boys are more, girls are less. So when the taking opinion, boys automatically majority in number, so that they won. So again, girls, we always have to do what the boys want because they are in majority. Ma'am should think of another way to make decisions so that our wishes are also here. So in a democratic nation, two kinds of people are living. One is majority, another one is minority. To avoid this majoritarian and minorities, we need our constitution and we have to follow the rules of the constitution. See here, in democratic societies, the constitution often lays down rules that guard against this misuse of authority by our political leaders. So in the case of the Indian constitution, about which you will read more later in the chapter, many of these laws are contained in the section of fundamental rights. Do you recall the chapter on the Dalit writer Om Prakash Valmiki's experience in school from your class 7th book? In your class 7, as you know that Om Prakash Valmiki belongs to a Dalit family, and his headmaster and class teacher not allowed him to learn and write and made him to sweep the playground continuously 3 to 4 days. So to avoid this one discrimination, what we need equality and equal opportunities for all, so that our government, our constitution exactly provided us equality. Our democracy works on the basis of equality. That is the main fundamental principle of the democratic government, is nothing but equality. All are equal. In this chapter, we talked about the discrimination of Om Prakash faced because he was a Dalit. You read about how the Indian constitution guarantees the right to equality to all persons and says that no citizens can be discriminated against on grounds of religion and their race, color, caste system, and there because of male and female gender discrimination and place of birth. Some people particularly giving priority to certain place. I belongs to particular state, I belongs to particular city, village, in this way. So that right to equality is one of the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Indian Constitution. We have to accept this all the things at certain periods whenever the law violated by others, when our fundamental rights going to exploited by others, we can use the power of fundamental rights, especially right to equality. Such unhealthy situations can occur in democratic societies too, where a majority can continuously enforce decisions that exclude minorities and go against their interest. For example, if you take to provide particular things in an area, like one community dominating, or one religion dominating, or one caste dominating. So in these situations, majority of the people's opinion takes place and rest of the minorities excluded from the decision making power. So that to avoid these all the same things, the constitution usually contains rules to ensure that minorities are not excluded from anything that is routinely available to the majority. That is the main important feature of Indian constitution, equality. And the reason why we have a constitution is precisely to prevent this tyranny or domination by the majority of a minority. So majority of a minority, in minority communities also, some subdivisions are in huge in number, they are measured in number, so that in a minority communities also, within the same community, some people dominated by the majority of the same community. If you take example with money power or with the high caste in the same community or the religion, this can refer to one community dominating another, that is inter-community domination. For example, one community dominating other, Hindu community dominating Muslim community, or Muslim community dominating Sikh community dominating Buddhist community. So in this way, different community dominating another one, majority one. So that is called as inter-community domination. That is called as inter-community domination. One community dominating other community. Next one, members of one community dominating others within the same community. Intra-community domination. This is what we call as intra-community domination. So inter-community domination means one community, pure majority community, dominating other minority community. And intra-community means within the same community, majority people dominating the minority people in the money wise, or power wise, or caste wise, whatever. Okay, so dominations are two types. One is inter-community domination, and the one is intra-community domination. Another important function that a constitution plays in a democracy is to ensure that a dominant group does not use its power against other less powerful people or groups. So in democracy, especially, majority groups can never dominate the minority people. So the storyboard below demonstrates one such situation in the classroom. Then come to the second storyboard of the lesson. Shabnam is in a fix. She has a decision to make. I have 2 chapters left to revise for tomorrow's test, but it's time for my favorite TV program. I am dying to watch it, but if I do that, I won't have time to finish my revision. So that he have to choose that education or their favorite TV program. Obviously, children, if in this situation is coming to us, definitely most of us choosing watching TV. But what is Shabnam's decision here? Shabnam, why are you looking so worried? I want to watch this TV program, but I have a test tomorrow. If you all watch TV, I will also want to watch. I have an idea. What? If no one watches TV tonight, then I may not be tempted. That is the problem here in a family. She wants to read, but her family members, like her grandfather or grandmother, they are continuing watching TV, so that it disturbing her, so that she decided to switch off the TV. So then no one is watching TV, there is no temptation to her. So very sincerely she can concentrate on her lessons. Yes or no? Even in our homes also is the same going on. So the parents and grandparents have to help the children to complete their works. It's good thing I did not watch TV. There are so many questions from the last two chapters. So in the next day exam, she got many questions from the lessons what she revised at yesterday's night. So that is helpful her. And then what? This is the third significant reason why we need a constitution. What is the third one? Why we need a constitution is to save us from ourselves. This may sound strange, but what is meant by this is what we might at times feel strongly about an issue that might go against our larger interest, and the Constitution helps us guard against this. Look at the storyboard below to understand this better. Next, I'm going to one more storyboard for you. So here, in a democratic family, all the families have to work for the best one, not for the choice. Similarly, the Constitution helps to protect us against certain decisions that we might take that could have an adverse effect on the larger principles that the country believes in. For example, it is possible that many people who live in a democracy might come to strangely feel that party politics has become so acrimonious that we need a strong dictator to set the right. Swept by this emotion, they may not realize that in the long run, dictatorial rule goes against all their interest. A good constitution does not allow these whims to change its basic structure. It does not allow for the easy overthrow of provisions that guarantee rights of citizens and protect their freedom. From the above discussion, you will understand that constitution plays a very important role in a democratic societies. See here, children. So if we are following a constitution made by our constitution makers for democratic form of government, whatever the government, whomever the person, they must have to obey the rules. If we are in dictatorship, there is no chance to change, there is no chance of rule favorable to the people wishes, so that always it is better suggestible all over the world 180 plus nations present following democratic form of government. The one and only reason is their flexibility and easy governance, and people will choose their better government. If they're not satisfied with the present government, they have the choice of to choose better government in the next general elections. Harum children, this is the class for today. In next class, I'm going to give you detailed explanation of what are the key features of Indian Constitution. Hari Om, stay home, stay safe, follow the videos and prepare your work properly. Children, Hari Om. Have a nice day.